think we got a little rain. Been watching a bunch of good videos on how the earth changed during Noah's flood. Or if you don't believe in Noah's flood, that's the one in the Bible, the flood, which they all agree definitely happened. It's kind of tough getting up this cliff area, but well, here's good ones. You can see right there layers. Layer, 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 another. That was from water coming in like, they say this was on the ground, and it was like tidal waves, one after another at different times, and each would bring different silt and rocks and all sorts of stuff. And you can see, yeah, right there, real obvious. It's a layer. That's why they find fossils. There's quite a few around here, but you'll find fossils way so high because the ground was then pushed up. When the continents began to separate, the ground was pushed up. So it made these mountains, but you can still see the layers of where they were down low, and the water each brought each different thing with it. In this case, you can see there's that one, and then below it's one that looks more like what we call rock, and then below that one, let's see, down here a little lower, it's a little easier here. It's hard to, we've had a lot of rain, so everything's kind of slick for trying to climb. Well, this is a good one. I mean, you can see that very obvious. Very obvious line right there. I think there's one down here. Yeah, here we are, lower. This is, yeah, there. This was very obvious. You can see the different layers of silt and everything that was dragged in when the waters came in. All through here. Some things are very obvious. Kind of like YouTube and Don Wells. Very obvious what was happening. Before I even knew the family, as I pointed out the other day, before I really met them, and then around the time that I first saw them, Candace in the parade, and I was listening, and there were quite a few of them, especially one specific woman that Don opened up to, but it was so obvious he was being manipulated that she I found out sometime right in that area. I actually had proof that she already thought about him. So I knew her interviews were, I guess the only word to use is deceitful. And she pretty well boasted that's what she was doing. Being deceitful to try to get information from him, and of course usually it wasn't dawn during the day. Sometimes he tried that, but it was usually night. As they say, when hell, those hellish nights, when you don't know what's happened to your daughter or what's happening to her at that moment. So in that vulnerable state, You look for something solid, and you think maybe YouTube can help. But you quickly find out it's unstable and crashes on you. But you're looking for some outlet, some little way you can express what's in you, somehow to get it out. It's all you can do for your daughter, because there's nothing else you can do. You search all the time, 24/7, never ends for a parent with a missing child everywhere they go. So you reach out, and you're in territory you know nothing about, and you have no idea how this is going to be used against you. And you don't know that you're being recorded. And every little word that comes out of your mouth is going to come out for public dissection. You can see here how the natural erosion of what was laid in those floods, it naturally breaks into these squares. It almost looked like somebody built this. Of course, in Don's case, it's just he was, you know, standing alone, trying the only thing he could try to do. You know, it always feels like you got the weight of the world sitting on you. Nobody knows that feeling except those parents who've ever experienced, you know, that combination of a crushing fear and a crushing grief, a crushing imagination. And you're always hoping to have hope that something will be said, trickle out of somebody, some tip that gives you hope. It's just too big, too vast. And the whole time you don't know if your daughter's alive or dead. You don't know if she's being abused. Of course, everybody thinks you know. I shouldn't say everybody. The topic is YouTube, so everybody many times fits. But we should still say many bodies. And you're just by yourself. And there's like nothing you can do. And then after a certain interview on your property, it kind of opens the door to this thing called YouTube. And it makes you think, there's all these people that really want to help. Even though you're already kind of questioning it because some of the stuff that's being said, but at that point you don't really care because you just want to get your daughter's name out there. And these people say that's what they're trying to do. And that sure feels better than that. So I'm listening to Don on YouTube while I'm out cutting wood. And it's so obvious. That what's happening is not what he thinks. And he doesn't know everything he's saying. It's about to drop on his head. But it is. And I can tell that's the way it's going. So it was right around that time that thought kept getting to me, what I'd mentioned earlier, that they needed some outlet where they could put their own pictures and tell their own stuff, and done a lot of websites and all, so felt like that might be something that could be done, just a small contribution to help. But I have to admit, whoa, careful. I have to admit, it was one of the most dysfunctional things I'd ever heard. From the people questioning and using what he said, to the whole situation, to everybody involved, to especially this one crazy guy that was on YouTube that was the wildest, craziest, filthiest, most bizarre human being. But he kept my attention, I will say that. Well, at that point, whoa, careful. Excuse me a second. Trying not to do that. It was July 23rd that I sent Robin a text asking, told her I was pondering this website idea. Asked her what she thought, and if she thought, you know, to ask the Wells if it's something they would want. I didn't know Robin real well, very well at all, but I knew she was close to the family. I did have her number from the bread. Had met her husband, family. I think even there was a outdoor Christian concert. I saw some of her pictures, and she let me use them in the news, on the news site. So I sent the text because I really didn't want to do anything, because everything seemed so chaotic and dysfunctional. But I just kept thinking, these people need help. At least this, you know, I could at least get them a site. Then they could put their pictures and their thoughts or video or just whatever they wanted to do, just to have an outlet. They needed an outlet of their own, and they had nothing. All they had at that point was what was happening on YouTube, that they were still babes to. It's so different how you can do things, and what helps and what doesn't help. Some things are solid, some things are not so solid. So that day, she wrote back and was like, yeah, I bought the domain name. I think it was July 23rd, 1921, yeah, feels that way. 2021, findsummerwells.com. But I still wasn't sure I was going to do the website, but domain names aren't that expensive. You usually get them for a year at a time. But I had the domain, findsummerwells.com. I can't remember if Robin checked with Candace and got right back with me on a phone call. Let me know that way. Pretty sure it was a phone call. And I got a Wix, wix.com. I used to make websites just typing out the code on Notepad. But as time went by and things like Wix came along, there's some layers. It's pretty slick up here, I gotta be careful. Wix is great. You can put them together quick, nice. Pretty much wherever you want it, you can put it on Wix. It's easy. Add video, everything. So they got millions of sites. That's why it struck me funny when that one person came up saying, the dark web. Because the dark web was Wix.com. And I don't use Wix for everything. I have some of my own, but everything I use is the same. It's a big companies, and I'm just one the dot in the company. I want to get up here, but it is very slick. I got to be very careful. If I fall, we'll have the footage. Uh-oh, almost sounded like Jimmy. Jimmy! We'll have good footage of you falling down the cliff. Okay, there's some layers. The flood in Noah's time covered the world, but geologists can now figure out exactly everything that happened with the computers and the geological records and everything they know now. Get on YouTube sometime and look at it, like the Genesis Project or any of those. It's amazing what they know now about what happened in the flood. I believe it was Noah's flood, but with the ark, you can read about that in Genesis, in the Bible. Or if you don't believe in that, the flood still happened. The flood. The flood. The cave. So Wix.com is where we started doing it. I'm hearing that water. I'm going to go down to that water. That sounds nice. Please stand by. Ah, yeah. Nice. Go down through here. Maybe through here. Ah. So the website, started putting it up, Wix.com. Somewhere through there I was contacted, and Robin said that, I believe she said, Candace said, yeah, do it. And that Robin could send me any of the pictures that Candace gave her. And so they started sending me stuff, so I started putting the site up as quick as I could. It still felt very strange because I didn't know these people. What's that? Wow. There must have been a meal at some point. Makes sense. Or something. Have to look that up. got the site basics up, and I think I might have even gone on a couple of the little Facebooks that were talking about summer, and kind of generically put a little something like, you know, I've been following the case or looking at pictures or something. Here's the family website. You know, I didn't say that I made it. I was just kind of tossing it out there to see what would happen. You know, how people would respond, just to get it out there. Mainly because, having listened to the chaos and dysfunction on YouTube, I just thought it was important to get the basics out there so people, the general public, could find stuff and just kind of know what exactly is going on. I mean, this was now July 23rd. You know, there was some good Facebooks, there were some good YouTubes, there were a lot of bad YouTubes. There were pictures scattered here and there, flyers popping up. So it was basically one spot where everything could come together. Just like organizing your bedroom, or your house, or your kitchen. Those are the three main rooms usually in a house. And so that's really what the site was. So this is July 23rd. Give or take some, or add some days, 24, 25. And this had happened back in June. So it had been over a month now that all this had been going on, and still, they were looking for tips. They had no leads. Nobody was arrested. Don wasn't arrested. Candace wasn't arrested. Grandma was, whoops, she'll shoot me for saying that. Miss Candy, she wasn't arrested. So it just seemed like the time to try to organize this a little better. And my one little contribution could very quietly and invisibly do the website, let the family put what they want on there. So information was clean. It was spreading. You know, YouTube had spread it out to other states. Some other countries were starting to lift their head. So everything needed to be a little more clean, a little more professional to help people. That's usually never this big. We had some good rain. Kind of curious what's down there. Let's go down there. So, that's what the site was. That was my one little civic contribution, but also my little contribution to this family, because like everybody, it really worked on your heart. I was starting to wake up at night. You know, I was looking for red trucks. I sent 2 or 3 different places of pictures of red trucks to the TBI. But initially I sent just, I don't know, 2 or couple emails to the TBI. Just, your mind gets going wild. And your thoughts, and you're watching stuff, and you're trying to piece this together, and you're trying to maybe give some idea they hadn't had. You know, of course, you know, they think pretty much of everything, but you're just trying to get yourself balanced, especially once I started doing the website, because now all of a sudden I was kind of like in it, looking at the faces. You know, you'd hear the slightest thing, you know, and you'd think, how's that fit, or does it fit? Or you'd have some crazy dream at night and wake up, you know, all nervous, and you'd think once that happened to me and I just wrote the TBI, the thoughts, it was just thoughts. I think the TBI is very gracious to all of us in something like this, especially initially, because everybody has thoughts and they don't know what the TBI and sheriff and all that, they don't know what they've gotten into, so they get a load of thoughts. Well, I had some thoughts. Not necessarily as much who did it. I mean, I was thinking of accidents, and I thought maybe she felt like a big girl and wanted to run down to the post box, check the mail for the first time, and the mail guy hit her. You know, I think I even had the thought maybe Don came flying up the driveway, and that's before I knew any of the facts, actually. You know, and accidentally, there she was. You know, you're just having all these thoughts. But I didn't know anything. I still didn't know the family. All I heard was the tons of stuff rushing through YouTube, going somewhere, but it sure wasn't really helping the case. If anything, it was, you know, drowning Don in his sorrows all the more, and Candace. It's just brutal what was happening to him.